Do you think it will like mess up my focus?
No, because you're on
It's locked,
autofocus.
yeah. Okay. Action.
Okay, so there's no rush.
Okay.
You can literally ask me a question. You can very quietly take any shots you like, and I will answer some questions.
Okay.
And think about, this is what I want you to think about. Do you want him looking off camera? That's very on trend. But you may like them looking at the camera, which means that there's a personal relationship between the person asking the question. You then also decide whether or not you just hear, well, we'll talk about that technical stuff after. Ask me a question.
Okay. Hello, Mark. Welcome to my interview, and thank you so much for agreeing to join this interview about your experience as a design educator. Can you share a little bit about yourself, as well as what is your main field of work in art and design?
My main field of work in art and design is in photography. I've worked in photography for 25 years and have taught in photography for about the same amount of time, just a bit less. So all the time I had a studio, I also worked in art education.
Thank you. You said that you've been like teaching, working in art educations, and can you share a little bit more about that, about your teaching experience? Like how long have you been teaching, and what are the main majors that you teach?
So as I said, my major is photography, but actually I teach kind of more generic art and design also, because my first degree was in fine art, my second degree was in animation, and I don't do either of them. I mainly work in photography. But I started working in education because somebody called me out of the blue and said, would you like to come and teach at the college? And I thought, okay. And it's been very beneficial to me to do that. It's something that has enriched my own work and career as an artist.
So how do you think your experience as a photographer benefit your teaching?
Well, the fact that I'm a working photographer has had a huge impact and is a big, it's definitely large benefits to people I teach, because, and this is a personal view, but frankly, a lot of lecturers are specifically academics. Now, I'm an academic, but I'm initially a practicing artist. That's what I do. So if you say, what do you do? I go, I'm a practicing artist. And what that means is that I'm able to give students lots of anecdotal evidence about how things happen, what happens in real life when you go out to work in an art and design field. I think that lacks quite often in a university or college setting. And there's nothing more valuable than work experience. It makes a huge difference to a student when you actually say, listen, I did X and Y happened, I got paid a certain amount, and I had to take a guy to court, or I had any all of these things are experiential, have more value to students than just sitting there talking about names, numbers, and dates. It's my view, personal view, I must say.
So to you, what is the most challenging aspect of being a design teacher?
I find most of it very challenging. I think the most challenging thing is to try and get a student to gain an understanding that actually they are the artist, and that when I'm at work, being a lecturer, I'm not an artist. I'm in a kind of latent mode, and that I'm just being a conduit for the student. Convincing someone that they have to come up with all the ideas, and their ideas count, and their ideas are what I'm interested in, not my ideas at all, can be very difficult. And I think for somebody learning at this level of art and design, at university level, I think to get that, the purpose is to actually gain the confidence to make their own stuff and do that with conviction. It's very, very hard to achieve that. And it's hard to actually get that across to students.
Thank you so much. Maybe can you share one of your favorite memories of being a design teacher, being here or some other school you've been teaching?
I have a lot. I have a lot of very good memories of teaching art and design. I have one very specific one, and it is a much more personal type of thing. And it was, I was teaching a young woman, I guess she may be 21 or something, and very unfortunately her partner had passed away. I can't remember the circumstances. And she was devastated by this. And you're going to be thinking, so what's that got to do with art and design? Well, of course, when you're teaching, you're often dealing with personal issues with students. And this came up. And I remember I just worked with her over a period of a year and tried to inspire her in her work and so on. Forgot about it. And at the final year show, when she was leaving, she came to give me an envelope. And so I keep that envelope. I still have it and its contents, because it was a very beautiful letter and was thanking me for helping her to kind of recover by, I mean, she was probably exaggerating, but she felt that I helped her become a photographer, and that had helped her to recover. So I know it's a kind of a weird story, but the reason I'm saying it is because I can't forget it. And about once every year or 2 or 3 years, I actually get the letter out and I read it, just to remind me kind of why I do it. So I'm not being a nice guy, but when something like that happens, it's very rewarding.
Oh, so nice to hear. And last but not least, do you have any advice for people who are also interested in design educations and want to be future design educators like you?
I was just about to say I don't think you should do it, but of course that's a kind of joke, or not a good joke, but I strongly recommend it if you can also work. So if you work in what you want to do, so if you are a designer, you do want to design usually, so if you can somehow do both, and that's hard because that usually means you're going to be a freelancer, but if you can do both, one will inform the other. So the amount that I've learned from students, it's a fairly equal exchange. When you're with people doing the same thing, you're going to learn from them also. I just think it's been very good for me. I hope it's been very good for my students. In fact, I know it has. Some of them have done extremely well. I would recommend it. It's hard work, but very rewarding.
Thank you so much for joining the interview.
You're welcome, ma'am. Anytime.
Okay, so now should I cut, right?
Yeah. So always wait for a little break and then stop your rolling. Stop the audio. 9:04. So I'm probably about